So for your Unit 5, Day 8, for your notes and for your practice, you're going to need your unit circle if you'll get a copy that's filled in, and then you need the handouts that has been posted. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be solving trig equations. These are simpler, and then when we get to Unit 6, we'll have a little more complicated ones. So for right now, the goal is for you to get your equation to have just a trig function. So if you look at number 1, it says cosine x equals negative 1/2. That's exactly how we want it to look. We have one trig function and it's equal to some value. And then if it tells you a specific radian measure, or it could be in degrees, this is where you're going to look on the unit circle. So pi on the unit circle, if you'll find that, so over here is pi, and then we're going from 3 pi over 2. So this is telling me that my answer that I get has to be in quadrant 3. Okay, we're not going to look anywhere else on the circle except for quadrant 3. Okay, cosine x equals negative 1/2. So we know that cosine is the x value on our unit circle. So we're trying to find when is the x value in the third quadrant equal to negative 1/2. So you're looking on the outside at your ordered pairs. And if you look here at 4 pi over 3, that's where the x value is negative 1/2. So the answer to this is 4 pi over 3. And we're going to make sure we put this in radians because they told me the interval in radians. Okay. So then for the second one is sine x equals 1. So we have our trig function equal to a number, so that's good. This time we're looking between 0 and pi. So 0 is at the beginning of our unit circle. Pi is over here at 180 degrees. So we can look in quadrant 1, or it could be in quadrant 2. So quadrant 1 and quadrant 2 is where we're going to look. Okay, so it says sine x equals 1. Sine, we know, is the y value. So we're trying to find in the first 2 quadrants from here to here, where is our y value equal to 1. So if you look up here at pi over 2, we have 0, 1, and that y value is equal to 1. So this should be pi over 2. Alright, so then if we take a look at number 3, so we have a trig function equal to a number, so cosecant is equal to 2, so that's good. So before we take a look at that, we're only looking from pi over 2 to pi. So we're only looking in quadrant 2 for our answer. Okay, cosecant, and if you might need to think about this a little bit, but cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, and we know sine is y. So cosecant is 1 over y. Okay, sometimes it makes it easier to think about this if we were to flip this, so we know 1 over y equals 2, which is the same thing as flipping this and saying y is equal to 1/2. So we're really looking for when the y value is equal to 1/2. You could even say we're looking for when the sine value is equal to 1/2. That would mean the same thing. So remember, we're only looking in quadrant 2. So you're looking for when the y value is equal to 1/2. So that happens right over here at 5 pi over 6. So 5 pi over 6 is going to be our answer. Alright, on to number 4. So number 4 is not solved for the trig function. So we're going to do that first. So we need to get this cosine by itself. So I'm going to add over 1. And then I'm going to need to divide by 2. So cosine x is going to be equal to 1/2. Okay. So first let's take a look at the interval they gave us. So this time they gave us between 0 and 2 pi. So that is the entire unit circle. So whenever there's the entire unit circle, keep in mind you're probably going to have 2 answers. Okay, so make sure you look for 2 answers. Every once in a while you only have 1, but a lot of times you'll have 2. Okay, so cosine we know is the x value. So we're looking for when the x value is 1/2. So we're just going to start in the first quadrant. So if you look, x value is 1/2 at pi over 3. So pi over 3 is one answer. Okay, let's move to the second quadrant. So the second quadrant has a negative 1/2, so that's not going to work. Third quadrant has a negative 1/2, not going to work. Fourth quadrant, well, here's a positive 1/2 at 5 pi over 3. And if you take a look at your answers, Whenever you have multiple answers, they should always have the same denominator, because this means they're located. So if you found the pi over 3 and the 5 pi over 3, they're located around the same area on your unit circle.